The truth is out there.
It is one of the world's greatest mysteries, Scotland's legendary Loch Ness Monster. So does the lake creature actually exist? Well, if you ask one man, he'll tell you it is in fact no myth.
Every day it's flaunted in front of your face.
Hundreds of people in the valley say they are hearing voices in their heads.
You just choose to ignore it.
Belief can be a powerful force. No one knows that better than the people who are sure they've seen Bigfoot.
Real accounts.
He says he knows who's playing mind games.
Rogue government officials that are sponsoring this, also corrupt business officials, and private citizens.
From real people.
Hundreds of people turned out tonight for the unveiling of a very controversial statue.
Yeah, it really is. The Satanic Temple of Detroit revealed the 1-ton bronze statue.
It's time for you to take a swim.
I'm just excited to see my Lord and Savior Baphomet represented in such glorious Italian stone. I do hope his eyes gaze upon me, and that my allegiance is recognized.
In the dark waters.
The Dark Waters channel is for entertainment purposes only. Although information in these stories can be traced back to relevant and true sources, Dark Waters strongly discourages its viewers, listeners, and subscribers from visiting the site of incidents and encounters discussed or revealed on the show. In other words, we will not be held responsible if you are attacked by a dogman, molested by a Bigfoot, bitten by vampires, chased by chupacabras, abducted by aliens, accosted by the Men in Black, investigated or arrested by the local law enforcement, CIA, FBI, NSA, EPA, BLM, or another alphabet group, whether on U.S. soil or abroad. Thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the show.
Now, I'm sure many of you listening to me have taken a road trip. You've driven somewhere at least once in life. Disney World, Six Flags, on a beach vacation, something like that. Well, it was on one of these road trips when I had my dogman encounter. My plan was to drive from Atlanta to Dallas, and it's pretty much a straight shot. Now, it's long, but all you have to do is drive down Highway 20. By long, I mean 10, 11, 12 hours, depending on how fast you're going. But if you leave at just the right time, you can avoid driving through the middle of the night. Well, in my case, I didn't leave at the right time at all. In fact, I left at the worst damn time you could do. But I was hyped up on Starbucks, so I pushed on through. I had reached Louisiana. And I remember my gas light coming on somewhere between Grambling and Minden. So I took the first exit I saw and tried to get some gas. It was a Shell station. And when I pulled up to the pump and swiped my card, none of the machines seemed to be working. So I went inside. Keep in mind, this is like 2:30, almost 2:45 in the morning. The man behind the counter tells me that they're only taking cash. Something about the internet is down and they can't process any credit or debit cards. So I walk over to the ATM machine to try and pull out cash, and of course that's not working either. I look at this guy and say, look, where can I get cash around here? He tells me, keep driving on down this road and you'll run into a bank with an ATM machine. Now, just like you, I don't really care for taking out cash from an ATM machine at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I had no choice. And the fact that the guy at the counter seemed to kind of shifty, and when I was walking out the door, he got on his cell phone and made a call and looked at me out of the corner of his eye with this kind of slick look, made me really even more uncomfortable about doing it. You gotta understand this situation. Small town. City slicker white guy. 500 series Mercedes Benz. The whole situation wasn't looking good for the home team. Now I gotta go to the ATM machine at 3 o'clock in the morning and this dude is on the phone talking to somebody? Oh, hell. I floored it. When I get there, it's a bank with a drive-up ATM machine. To the left of this ATM machine and surrounding this entire bank is a wood line. Again, like I said, call me paranoid, but in my mind, this situation was deteriorating pretty fast. Now to pull up to a dark ATM machine surrounded by wood lines and a 500 series Benz, it just wasn't looking good. So I turn on my high beams, pull out my card, and race up to that. I'm there punching the buttons when I notice something start to move in the wood line. Now I'm thinking maybe it's some good old country boys coming to hit me up and rob me. So I'm already on high alert. And I know what I'm seeing. I had just taken the money out of the machine, holding it in my left hand, when this creature steps out of the woods. It's about 6 feet tall and it looked like a dog. I mean, like a German shepherd walking on his back legs. Had the big pointy ears and everything. This thing even raised its arm to shield his eyes from the bright lights of my vehicle. It tilted its nose in the air and started to sniff, looked around, and then turned around and walked back into the woodlines. Now I was prepared to roll over some vagrants that were going to try and rob me, but this was a bit much. So I slammed on the gas and backed out of there, headed back to the Shell station. When I get back to the Shell station, I noticed that there's this old beat-up Buick Cutlass parked on the side of the building with dark tinted windows. Now, I done seen some kind of creature in the woods. I know this dude done called somebody to try and rob me. This shit was just too much for me, so I just pulled off. I decided the best thing I could do was just take the risk of driving my vehicle to the next stop. When I hit the highway, I had 12 miles of gas. And when I got to the next gas station, my meter said, "You have 0 gas." The engine was actually stalling when I got out, but I was able to fill her up and get her moving again. Ever since I had that encounter, my new rule is when I'm driving late at night, I only stop in major cities where there's high traffic areas and it's well lit. My father and I are motorcycle enthusiasts. Hell, when I was 9 years old, he got arrested for child endangerment because he was riding me on the back of his Harley Davidson. And me personally, I started riding dirt bikes at age 13 and competed in events. So when I say that my father and I are enthusiasts, we are truly motorcycle enthusiasts. Riding motorbikes is a way of life for us. And when the Polaris Slingshot came out, man, we were excited. Dad, through his contacts, got the hookup. And we were able to get one of the Slingshots prior to them even going on sale, straight from the factory to our home. And talk about being excited. We were like 2 kids in the candy store. My dad and I took this thing everywhere, and we loved how people looked at us because at that point in time, nobody knew exactly what it was. It was so fresh and so new. Our Dogman encounter happened right on Highway 121 in Louisiana. Dad and I had been rolling along, and we were looking for some roadways that wouldn't have heavy traffic so we could really open the Slingshot up. That's when we turned off 121 down Lake Road. After we made a right turn, Dad floored it. And man, were we moving. The twists and the turns on this road were absolutely perfect. They were very gradual, so we didn't have much to worry about. Absolutely no traffic at all. We were in motorcycle heaven. Dad and I drove those back roads all day long. Basically what we were doing was breaking the law, speeding at every opportunity we got. He was being a road hog and taking up all the driving time, so I signaled for him to pull over. Now, I can't exactly tell you the mile marker that we stopped at, but I can tell you what was around us when we pulled over. We had just passed some campgrounds and stopped in this little fork in the road. Ahead of us was a bridge, and we were surrounded by trees. As Dad and I started to switch places, I took my helmet off and grabbed a bottle of water from the back seat and began to circle around the vehicle. That's when I noticed this deer standing on the side of the road. It was odd and strange because the Slingshot was still running. And typically when deers hear vehicles running in the middle of the day, they scamper back off into the woods. But this deer was just standing there, staring into the wood line. It was almost like it was in some kind of trance. That's when I heard this sound coming from the woods. It was this heavy movement, like something was running, but it was coming fast, real fast through the trees. That's when this deer turned around, took off across the road. It jumped over the guardrail and down off the side of the bridge. Then, the biggest dog I've ever seen in my life comes barreling through the trees. And when I say barreling, it's coming through the air, breaking tree branches, and lands in the middle of the road. Then in one leap, it jumps over the guardrail itself and down off the side of the bridge. For a minute, I stood there in shock because I thought I was hallucinating. But when my dad started pushing me, saying, "Get in the fucking car, get in," I realized that he saw it too. Then you could hear this screeching sound of this deer crying out in pain. I never heard anything like that in my life. Followed by silence, dead silence, no birds chirping, no nothing. I was still halfway in the driver's side when my dad said, "Hey, get the fuck in, let's go." We spun the vehicle around and headed back in the opposite direction to 121. When we got off the back roads, I asked my dad, "What was that?" When we got home, I became curious about what this creature was, so I started to look it up on the internet. And that's how I found you, Dark Waters. And I shared my story with you.